Hello and welcome to the Books Crypto Club weekly catch-up on Zoom. It is Sunday, the 10th of July, 2022. And this week, we're going to be talking about cryptocurrencies, blockchains, DLTs, NFTs, ICOs, STOs, TGEs, all sorts of letters, really. So if you don't know what some of those are, stick around and you can learn some more. If you're a novice, then the idea is that these sessions are run for people to ask questions. There's a link up above which gives you details of this YouTube channel, but also you can find out in the details below how to book and actually come along to one of these meetings. The meetings are open to everybody, novice and expert alike, and we welcome a whole range of views and interest. So if you're really into NFTs or you're really into cryptocurrency, this could be an ideal session for you to come and join. If you're an experienced person in the crypto space, then come along and share with us news about your projects or things that you're looking at. Anyway, let's see who's going to come and join us today. Hey, Mac.
Hey, Gary. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. You're back again.
Yeah, it's Sunday night.
It must be, is it pretty late for you at the moment?
It's 11:30 p.m.
Yeah. Is it, you're calling from south of India, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm from South India.
So you're still learning lots at the moment?
Yeah, I just, I was learning a couple of things.
Are you learning anything about things like Web3 and DeFi and that kind of thing?
Yeah, and right now I'm trying to go deep into it.
There's a lot of things to learn in this space. Hey, Thomas, hello.
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks. How are you?
You can hear us okay, Thomas?
Yes.
Hey, well, welcome aboard. This is your first time on these sessions?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, great. Hey, we've got a few more joining us now. Hey, Sammy. And Sammy here is okay.
Hi, Gary. How are you?
Hey, I'm good, thanks. So good to see you all. We've got a mix at the moment. It's only a few on the call at the moment, but got a mix of people who I think have been on these kind of sessions before, and maybe one or two who haven't. So the idea is of these really totally open format. There's no fixed agenda. I encourage people to ask questions, share knowledge, share things. So for any of you today, any particular questions you come along with today, or things that you'd like to understand more or learn about? Sammy, I can see that you have an expression. Are you new to this area, or are you experienced in crypto or blockchain?
Well, I'm just a beginner and I'm reading about it since last year. Started to show more interest. Okay. And good always to get some feedback, some tips from time here and there. So such a nice event. Thanks for having me here. I have a question. I don't know why the Bitcoin dropped down.
No one truly knows. I sometimes show a picture or a video of a butterfly flapping its wings in the Amazon, which is known as chaos theory and randomness. Yes. Sometimes there's just no reason. Sometimes it might be connected with real world events. Sometimes real world events may have an opposite impact and actually cause prices to go up. It may be to do with things like some of the whales. So some of the people who've got lots of holdings already have simply dumped onto the market. Sometimes it can be because there are some financial instruments around the world which are linked to Bitcoin in like the futures markets, and sometimes they can have an effect. There are so many things that we don't really know, because if we did know for sure, then we'd be able to use that to predict the future prices and everyone would be rich.
Yes, like the official currencies in my hand and your hand, we always know, like the interest rate, the central bank decisions, the export, the import, lots of things, factors contribute. I don't know how the extreme drop in the Bitcoin, sometimes then it go up again. It depends on which factors, but I got an idea from you. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think I've been tracking it over a number of years, and I think since 2015, it has had something like 5 or 6 major drops. where
Yes.
it's dropped significantly. So these things can happen. Whereabouts are you based then, Sammy?
I'm based now in Southeast Asia, in Malaysia, and it's a very hyper market here for cryptocurrency. Still, they are not so much. I mean, there is lots of guys invest in it, but it's not like Japan. Japan is so wild, and it's a very big story there. But yeah, Malaysia still with caution.
Yeah. Well, I find it interesting. I've just done a piece of work with a firm based out of Kuala Lumpur, which was non-crypto related. But speaking to some of the people, they're obviously getting into crypto. The other area in Southeast Asia really is South Korea. I know some people in Seoul who are really into the crypto space.
Yes, yes.
And, you know, even the South Korean government has made comments about NFTs and crypto, and some of the large electronics manufacturers are getting into that space as well.
Yeah. Due to the influence of Japan, Japan is a big on the Bitcoin, and they have ATM machines for Bitcoins, and you can pay lots of things with Bitcoin in Japan.
I was quite blown away. I was in Tokyo before the lockdowns. I just went to a meetup event one night, which was a crypto meetup, and I was amazed at just how much activity there was. There were like hundreds of people crammed into this venue, talking about various projects that were going on. So you're right, there's lots of stuff going on there. That's good. So quickly, we've got Mac, who's in southern India, got Sammy, who's in Malaysia. Thomas, whereabouts are you based? Thomas is struggling to find the mute button now.
Yeah. What was the question?
Just interested where you were based, Thomas.
Well, my company is in Switzerland. I'm based in France at the border to Germany, near Switzerland.
Okay. Well, is that like Basel way or something then?
Yes.
Okay.
Between Basel and Strasbourg.
Okay, cool. So Switzerland's quite a hive of activity in the crypto space as well. I've done some stuff in Zurich, and I know Zug is, you got Crypto Valley and lots of stuff going on there. So
yes, exactly. My company is in Zug. Yeah.
Okay. So you're based in the offices with Crypto Valley associates and that kind of thing?
Yes.
Okay. See, it's a small world.
Yes.
Switzerland's certainly very active in doing developments, and I guess it helps with Ethereum originally being founded there as well. So that's good. Cool. Okay. So
yeah, and Solana also, yeah, and many others.
Of course, yeah. So I'll throw
Ethereum was founded in Switzerland. The Ethereum.
Well, the Ethereum Foundation is registered in Switzerland, isn't it?
Oh, I see. Nice.
But the Ethereum Foundation and the team are quite virtual, I think. So Vitalik just travels around the world. I don't think he's technically based anywhere these days.
Yeah. He lives in Canada.
Yeah.
And also Jota is also based in Switzerland and several others.
Who's that, Jota?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what they are doing?
Well, they focus on industrial IoT applications.
Sorry, IOTA, as in Internet of Things Association.
Yes, exactly. I put it in the chat. Maybe I pronounced the difference. But in German, it's pronounced like the Greek letter.
Okay. Yeah. It's just the way I happen to pronounce it. It's me that's getting that wrong. Yeah, because that's a very interesting project, because they were one of the first to align with Internet of Things devices, and they use a different blockchain as well, or different blockchain architecture, because they use a Tangle. Yeah. So for those who are interested in, acrylic graphs and that kind of thing, which are a little bit different from traditional blockchains. So Thomas, you have a company that's involved in blockchain or crypto in some way?
Yes, we mainly do AI, but we also do some crypto consultancy. For example, we helped HSBC with the crypto activities, Hyperledger, and they had a project around a stable-coin that they dropped later. But we worked for them and for some others for the International Blockchain Corporation and some others. So, but we mainly do AI projects, but AI and crypto fits well together.
Yeah. Well, I sometimes describe the three technologies that will really come together will be blockchain, AI and IoT. So you think about IoT generating the data, AI analyzing the data, and blockchain storing the data. It's a very compelling triangle of capabilities.
What's the IoT? What is it? It's short for what?
It stands for Internet of Things. So it's any device ultimately that can store and record information. So it might be like my smartwatch or my mobile phone.
Oh, I see.
Or a washing machine, or a car. You know, most cars these days are IoT enabled in some way, because they've all got software built into them, and they do what is known as OTA, which is over-the-air updates. So
over-the-air.
Yeah. So if you drive like a fairly new Ford or BMW or Mercedes or anything like that, they all run on software which can be upgraded automatically now. So you don't have to go back to a garage anymore. It's actually done via radio transmissions and that. So cars generate a massive amount of data these days. Then you've got things like washing machines, dishwashers, smart TVs. I mentioned mobile phones already, GPSs, anything electronic almost is IoT these days, because typically it will connect to the internet. Does that answer the question okay?
Yeah, I got how they can be a trilogy together with the artificial intelligence and Bitcoin.
I mean, an example on a massive scale is there is a project that was launched with Maersk Shipping. Maersk Shipping are one of the world's largest shipping and container operators, and they use devices on the ships, and I think in the containers as well, to track where all the containers are. And they developed a proposition. In fact, they developed two. One is called, I think, WeTrade, and so it does trade finance. So it tracks where containers are, who owns them, where they're going, and that. And there's another one called InsureWave, which allows vessel operators to track and insure their vessels, if I remember correctly. And that's using a mixture of IoT to track where the devices are, whether they're the containers or the ships, AI to do analytics about where they're going and what they're doing, and blockchain to actually record the transactions. So pretty powerful.
Yeah, so HSBC, HSBC is using WeTrade.
Using WeTrade, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so WeTrade, again, it's a consortium, isn't it, of Maersk Shipping. I think IBM Blockchain were involved in it, or may still be. And a number of other companies of doing things like trade finance. So it's really useful to track who owns consignments of goods and the transfer of ownership and when they arrive in port and that kind of thing. That's a fascinating area. And hey, I think is it JP Morgan are doing a lot of stuff on tracking of things like that as well, if I remember correctly. But there's a number of finance companies now who are really getting into this space, because if you can track where consignments are, you can better tailor the insurance and the finance products. That's good. So, Sammy, are you actually working on any crypto type things or blockchain things, or is this just a general interest?
It's in my interest. I am into e-commerce now since 3 years ago until now, and I like it, trade and business online, and definitely I need to read and check more. The more I get actually from instructors like you and good mentors, the more I know better, because all these articles and the stories in the internet is not is just the tip of the iceberg. Is not really a good knowledge.
Yeah, I still find it fascinating. I've been involved in this space for about 6 or so years now, and I provide consultancy and education and advisory services to either blockchain companies or companies looking at using blockchains. And I'm still amazed when I speak to people who've also been in the sector for a number of years as to how many things they're not aware of that are happening. So this is one of the reasons I run these kind of sessions, because it's a great way of learning about who's doing interesting things.
I see the blockchain in itself is a revolutionary piece of software. If you remove the cryptocurrency from it, the blockchain as a mechanism is amazing. I saw the post office in Australia is taking it very seriously, and the government, they wanna do the post with the blockchain system. United Kingdom, they wanna do it, insert it in some medical thing. And I like the blockchain as a system, but the cryptocurrency is something else.
Mhm.
How you do it with the blockchain, and yeah, it's another study. The people don't separate them in their head. They feel they are all one package together. The blockchain in itself is very powerful as a mechanism.
I agree. And in fact, when I first came into this space, my interest was in blockchains and distributed ledger technology.
Yes,
and cryptocurrency was almost an inconvenience aside.
Yes.
But what I discovered after a few years ago is that it's crypto that leads all the hype and gets everyone excited.
Unfortunately,
yes, that's right. And it's crypto that is always in the news, particularly when it drops in price considerably, and that always draws attention. But yeah, there's lots of interesting blockchain projects going on. Things around provenance, traceability, smart contracts, that kind of thing. And crypto does start to come back into some of that, particularly when you're looking at things like payment rails. So how are things paid for, how are remittances done, and that kind of thing. But it's interesting as well, having been in the space for about, as I say, about 6 years, things are still moving very slowly, far slower than I would have hoped. There are a few projects I know that are live on the blockchain side of things, but still not as much as they could be. So Thomas, I don't know, how long have you been interested in this area?
Well, since 2006 or 7, or I started looking at it actually when Bitcoin came out in 2009, but in 2017 I did more. I looked a bit at Bitcoin all the time from 2009 to 2017, and then from 2017 onwards I did first projects with HSBC and other customers.
Okay. For HSBC, was that things like on the payment side of things and settlements, or was it on all the financial instruments?
All parts. A moment, I'm looking up. So it was one aspect was the security for it, and then so that was actually a big part of my work. So AI-based cybersecurity, and also I was involved in that stablecoin that they used, so this R3 Corda blockchain and the utility settlement coin. Yeah, that was a stablecoin that was stopped by them. So I helped with that, and then HSBC used the trade transactions using WeTrade, Voltron, and R3 Corda, and yeah, I implemented a bit in Kotlin, also interacting with up to 100 other banks, and yeah, some people from London in HSBC. Then with my company, I've been working on some NFTs and helping with some content monetization and metaverse startups, doing consulting for them.
Wow, so that's a great collection of things there, that you're involved in NFTs and the metaverse and AI.
Yeah, and smart contract also. So also with the EOS blockchain, Cardano, Stellar, and Lumen tokens.
Wow, you're going in for the full set of interesting technologies there.
Yeah, and then the supply chain management, industrial IoT, yeah, cybersecurity. I think basically all kinds of bank and financial transactions based on a blockchain, and then later doing RPA-based automation, so robotic process automation, and then a lot of NFT, especially on Solana, yeah, and Ethereum.
Okay.
Yeah, NFT is restricted with Ethereum until this moment. Wherever I go on the internet, I cannot buy NFT with Bitcoin. I must go through the gate of Ethereum.
I think it tends to be that way, but there are some other blockchains that are quite heavy on the NFT platform level now. So I think VeChain is quite big in this space. So you might be able to use VET tokens or something, but I think you're right. Most well-known NFTs, if they're going through things like Rarible and OpenSeas, it tends to be that you have to buy using Ether.
Ether, yes, and you have to pay a cold fee, something like $100, or I don't know, 150, 40, I don't know, depend on. It's a must fee you have to pay for to join the club and to start to trade with NFT.
Well, I think that's why there are a number of blockchain platforms, and Thomas will probably know better on this, that there are a number of alternative platforms now which are developing NFTs. I know Binance Chain have got their own, and there are a few others as well, because it's recognized that the gas fees are very expensive.
The gas fee, yes, called the gas fee, yeah. Very expensive, really.
Yep, so that's where Ethereum is almost too expensive in some ways for some NFTs now. Thomas, I don't know what your thoughts around the best blockchains for NFTs, or any experiences you have.
Yeah, I would say the classical one is Ethereum, and then the newer ones are Solana and also Cardano, I would say.
Yeah. It's a good point, because Cardano tends to be in the news quite a bit at the moment, because Charles Hoskinson is very active in promoting what they're doing. So yeah, you're right. Cardano and Solana both quite well known in the NFT space. So we'll see where they develop. NFTs are interesting at the moment, because they seem to be going through a bit of a drop in terms of popularity as they move out the phase of it all being like Bored Ape Yacht Club and CryptoPunks and that kind of thing. They seem to be gradually moving on from the digital art onto things like collectibles. Because I know a lot of sports clubs now have got NFTs, and a lot of celebrities are using NFTs to promote things. So I think there's going to be another wave of activity soon. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the market. I don't know, Mac, I was going to ask you, because you're still learning in this whole space.
Yes.
Because this links in nicely with Web3 and the whole decentralized and distributed stuff. Are you looking at NFTs and how they work and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I'm looking at it, but mostly here I would look at projects which have financial motive rather than having any utility here. So people here mostly tend to work on projects just very similar to what we are seeing in market right now. So you just release a project and you don't have any actual value in it, and then they just launch and try to get money from that. So that's what people are going for. But there are a couple of people who are working. So I guess you already know, implementing NFTs for warranty and all these stuff, right? So we were working on all those things. But yeah, still people people haven't explored the real use case of NFTs. So I'm finding it hard to do and learn such stuff, to understand the actual potential of NFTs in the ecosystem. But yeah, I have to come out of this sort of a smaller ecosystem where people don't understand. Just like Sami said, so people, just like how people are seeing blockchain from the cryptocurrency hype. So the cryptocurrency is what driving blockchain to every people. Just like that, the NFT project, just like the Bored Ape and all these things, that is what driving the NFT craze. But still, there are a lot of potentials to be, that for NFTs.
Yeah. So maybe it's worth asking Sami then, in terms of NFTs locally. So in Malaysia, is there much interest in Malaysia around NFTs at the moment?
With caution, it's just a personal. Some people here and there is not like a popular choice for the people. But there is some guys in the mainland China who keep promoting these things to the Malaysian Chinese, because there is a big ethnicities of Malaysian Chinese here. They are the only people who can be interested in this, not the Malaysian Indian or the Malayo. the Malaysian Chinese have this hype with the NFT and the metaverse. China is going so big with so big investment to compete with America on the metaverse sector, which I'm excited to see how the result will be with huge studios working neck to neck 24 hours to create such a big 3D virtual world that I like to see how can I invest inside it. I know it's a 3D and it's something I I will never access to this land that I buy inside our house, but it's just I saw so lots of celebrities. Snoop Dogg, he already purchased a big territory in the metaverse.
I think the problem is as well, because I've been looking at this and somebody was asking for some advice about purchasing some land in inverted commas in the metaverse. And the problem really is, first of all, there isn't one metaverse. You know, there are multiple platforms to begin with. Yes. And then it's not physical. So, you know, whereas a piece of property, you can potentially go to that land and check it and research and that kind of thing. You can't do that with the metaverse. And it could kind of get switched off overnight. And so I find it astounding how much people are plowing money into this.
Yes, so much.
And it's a little bit like the physical property crazes we've had. You know, Dubai, was it 20 years ago, where, you know, loads and loads of buildings going up, loads and loads of money going in. And I think Emaar now operate probably most of Dubai. So everywhere in Dubai's got like Emaar shopping center and Emaar that. But if it's in the metaverse, you know, it's interesting speaking to people about what the legal situation is in the event of something going wrong. I don't know, Thomas, are you, because you're talking about things like cybersecurity and metaverse and NFTs and AI, is this, are you taking an interest in real estate in the metaverse at all?
No, I personally don't. I help a startup with that, but I don't invest in this right now. So we only do paid consulting work in this, because I feel there's too many players right now active.
Yeah, I think there are too many people who are willing to speak loudly about this, even if they don't know what they're talking about. You know, I'm the same. If I don't know about some stuff, I'm not going to offer a thought or advice, but I will invite others who know things. But yeah, there's a lot of hype going on with that NFTs, and as Sammy says, when you've got celebrities endorsing metaverse property and that kind of thing, it makes me a little bit nervous.
And the gamers also, Gary, it's a big portion of the cake. The gamers are teenage. We're talking about the 20s, less than 20s. This is a big portion of the cake now. They are investing in the metaverse because of them. You know, this is a guy who most of the day inside the virtual game, he's already adapted to, he want to subscribe to this. So already there is customers globally around the world.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting as well, as you say, it's a lot of it is in the Far East and Southeast Asia. You know, I think there's a lot of gamers in Vietnam, quite a few in the Philippines,
Japan, Korea, China,
yeah, definitely. So it's really interesting to hear just how much development there is on the gaming side of things and bringing metaverses together and making things interoperable, and that's good. And hey, we've been joined by an NFT. Good old the unicorn himself, JT. Hey, JT.
Hey, guys.
Hey. You still got your wonderful NFT as your avatar.
Actually, it's not an NFT yet.
You should have minted that by now.
Yeah, well, no, just one of my graphic designers decided to make something nice for me. Yeah.
So we've been talking about a few general things that today. We're talking a little bit about continued interest in NFTs, particularly on the metaverse side of things. Thomas, who's based out in Switzerland, was talking about he's doing a lot of stuff around the AI space, and some of that links in with blockchain and that, particularly when you start looking at things like IOTA, which I think you're familiar with as well, the IOTA Foundation kind of thing. So I don't know, you got any new interesting stories, any motorbikes to sell us this week?
Oh, no, that's a fun project actually, no? And I'm just always looking for anything that really has some utility behind, something that actually is not just another monkey or so, you know what I mean? Yeah, we discussed that last week.
Yep.
But this week, no, I was most of the week ill with, I don't know if it was corona or a cold, but here in London, 1 in 25 seems to have got something in the last 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
And people are asking me why I'm not coming to all the events in London.
I don't blame you, mate.
Yeah, it's less likely I'll catch something on Zoom, so I'll stay with that. So have you heard any interesting news, any good developments or anything this week? I'll open that to anybody, really.
It was quite quiet. I haven't seen much around apart from the usual stuff, with Elon playing up and, Voyager announcing, bankruptcy,
Yeah. Well, it seems to be a compounding, doesn't it? Because there was three arrows, Voyager, Celsius. There's all of these funds and that seems to be struggling. I guess they've been having margin calls or something.
Sorry, last week?
No, I was just saying in the last few weeks, not just last week, how there's been a whole number of things like funds and that kind of thing collapsing and closing and going bust.
Yeah,
that's
I've been made aware there might be a couple more. I didn't ask. I don't want to know.
No,
but
I would assume there are going to be more. Yeah.
I don't think it has ended. Now, I'm not sure if it's going to affect a further downwards of Bitcoin and the rest, but it all depends on all the stuff happening around the world, China with Russia, whatever, if they all happen at the same time, it could be very bad. If not, it might just dip a bit more, but I don't think we're going to go much further than what we've reached last few months.
So it's interesting. I'll share this with everyone because we inevitably end up talking about cryptocurrency at some point on this kind of thing. And I was taking a look at Bitcoin prices just as an example because it's fairly representative of what's going on in the general crypto space. And we take a look back to, I think it's last November, when Bitcoin kind of peaked at $69,000. Has gradually been working its way down and then settled down a little bit and then dropped some more. And it seems to be at the moment, it's interesting that a couple of weeks ago, a couple of the crypto groups I'm involved in, when they saw this sudden collapse at the end or early June, where it dropped down to like 21,000 very, very rapidly. And their prediction was it was going to go down to 11,000 or even 8,000. But it seems to be channeling at the moment. It seems to have settled kind of between the 18 and 21 mark. So it's going to be interesting in the next few days, I think. I have a feeling that there's going to be a breakout. And most people have been talking about it being a breakout to the downside. But if we look at the 20-day moving average, which is curving up a little bit, I just wonder if it's going to settle and it's going to explode back upwards again, or maybe I'm just being optimistic. We shall see. I don't know if anyone watches the crypto markets, if they've got any thoughts or views on that.
It's good to buy now. It's good to buy, yeah.
It could be. I never offer any financial recommendations, but certainly it does have this feeling that it's about to do something shortly. And if we take a look at I think it was the hourly charts I was looking at earlier, it seems to be on a gradual rising trend at the moment. So it does kind of feel as though it's hit its baseline when it was back at 18.7. And there's been some interesting buys since then. So I do get a feeling that maybe it's about to bounce up quite sharply.
Or it could be a trap.
It could, yeah.
Happens often.
Yeah, we never know with these things. Like it might be that there's some big players who are.
It's very hard to. It's very hard to, you know, to find the bottom really, you know, and people always think it's going to go lower. And I don't give an advice to anyone, as you know, but I always try to make people think that it's not possible. So you need to think about medium to long term, you know.
Yep.
And that's it, you know. And if you are substantially okay with your current financial situation, then it's a decision that is probably a no-brainer, you know. But nobody knows where it is going. If the world, you know, continues the way it's going, you know, I think this month is crucial because of the all the numbers coming out from the US. I think there's going to be another 75 percentage points. You know, everybody's talking about it. They're going to apply it again. I don't think inflation changed much. So if things don't start to change from an economic perspective, then we're going to dive very quickly into a recession, you know, very, very quickly. We already are, you know,
Well,
but they're trying to disguise it, as you know, and that will affect completely, will affect the price of anything, really, not just crypto. You know.
I think we've had this conversation before that I don't think that we are heading into a recession. I think we've already gone through a recession and we're now heading into stagflation, which actually is far worse because it means you've got rising prices and dropping demand, which is a bad combination. And
it could then lead to a further drop down, you know.
Yep.
That's what Nouriel Rubini says, you know, but whatever he says, he's into this stagflation since, I don't know, February, you know, keep telling people. He's been right, yeah, but I think it's part of the way that if you try to control inflation, if you try to control everything that's going around the economy, you're going to have that, you know. Add that to the war in Russia, in Ukraine, yeah. Plus, if China decides to take over Taiwan in the next couple of months, it's going to be chaos, absolutely chaos in the markets. It's a very bad time to actually make decisions, in my perspective, you know.
Yep. Yeah. And for those who are interested, Thomas has shared his LinkedIn connection on there and his Twitter as well, which is good, and his Instagram. Very well connected in the social media scene. Thank you, Thomas.
You're welcome. Yeah, and previously I shared the paper when you need a blockchain and so on.
Okay.
Above. So
always good to connect with other people. So thank you for sharing all of that. But yeah, JT, I think you're right that there are lots of things that are happening at the moment. As you say, it's not just about Ukraine conflict, it's also Taiwan and China. You take a look at Sri Lanka, and I guess, Mac, you're geographically closer to Sri Lanka at the moment. It's funny, we're talking about blockchain activity in Sri Lanka a week or so ago, and since then, you know, the government has collapsed and the whole economy is tanking right now. Which is not great. So there are all of these kind of things going on, but what we don't really know is what impact it will have on crypto. Does everything drop in price, including crypto, or is crypto considered a safe haven in some way? Is it like an alternative asset class, a bit like how gold and silver are often treated in times of uncertainty? So Sammy, it comes back to your original point really of what caused drops, and potentially, therefore, what could cause things to go back up again. That now could be a great time to buy or not, and we just don't know.
Yeah, the people will be in speculation on what is the best choice for safe haven, as you mentioned. They're buying gold, actually.
Yep.
On a government level, on a personal level.
Yeah, so
that can be very bad as well, because India announced recently that they found 222 metric tons of gold. You know, I think it's 22 tons. Metric tons is crazy. It was like $1 quadrillion. So, but let's say it's 222 million, tons. Then what that means, that's another $10 trillion on the market, you know, for gold. And Add that to the Uganda that they said that they found, like, it was last month, wasn't it? Also, $12 trillion of gold, you know, in Uganda. As soon as those are fully confirmed, I can see the next 6 to 9 months the price of gold also diving. You know, I mean, it's not scarce anymore with all that gold around. You know, so but of course needs to be confirmed. You know, those are real, and it's not just, you know, that guy in Uganda, that dictator, is well known for not being a rational person, if you know what I mean. You know.
Okay. So do you think he could be spoofing the market in some way?
Who knows what he's playing at? You know, now we got the Americans interested, and he's doing all sorts of things. I mean, before it was the Chinese. So this kind
like the story of Mansa Musa. He was on an empire of salt in Mali, and he walked in a pilgrim from West Sahara to Mecca, and he float all the gold prices around the world. This is just one person in Africa. He could have this influence. Yeah, I hear unicorn remind me about the effect of one person or one country, what they can do with the gold. Mansa Musa.
So what's safe haven? God knows, you know, honestly. You know.
Well, the president of Salvador, he thought cryptocurrency is a safe haven, and he fucked up so much. And the people are so angry from all these Bitcoins that he purchased in such a small country that is like a banana republic, that they don't know how to generate even good federal reserve. So
but hasn't he bought some more since?
Yeah,
so,
we did.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna be okay. You know, like I said, if it's medium to long term, it's gonna end up to being okay. You know, the problem is really the next 9 months. It's very hard to figure out what's gonna happen the next 9 months. Yeah. Well, towards the end of the year, 6 months, really, you know, very, very hard. You know, my perspective, and I said this to you, Gary, here, I think towards September, October, we're going to pick up big time and fast. You know, I really think it's going to happen if there isn't no black swan events like, you know, China invading Taiwan or whatever, something bigger. I think we start to recover. So, yeah, you're probably right with the stagflation, and maybe with all the measures being put in place. On the other end, we just need to look at UK. You and I live in UK. I don't know if anyone else here on the call is. We know what we're talking about. We're talking about the energy bills in October reaching £3,200. Yeah, I mean, that puts like 80% of the people in UK out of having ability to pay for that. You know, what we saw in Sri Lanka could very well start to happen this autumn across all Europe, not just UK. You know, it's I don't know what's going on, man. Is the politicians not handling this, and I don't understand why, to be totally honest. So it's hard to figure out how things are gonna be. You know.
Yeah, I've learned a long time ago to not try and second guess what is going on with economies of the world. It's so easy to get it wrong. So as you say about energy costs in the UK, there's a lot of dissent going along. There's a lot of unrest around the world at the moment. You look at the protests in the Netherlands. So the Dutch farmers are protesting quite big, and that's not appearing in the mainstream press. There was some things going on in Canada a little while ago. There seems to be protests going on all over the world right now, which aren't being reported that much. So it's kind of interesting that, like little fires around the world, if they grow and they start connecting, then yeah, it could be bad times.
Yeah,
so.
I think all of these have impact on crypto, on NFT, metaverse, all of it. You know, because it's still a very early stage for all of these technologies. You know, and you know what happens to those, yeah, when there are all of these, doesn't matter, economic situations, wars or whatever, people don't care really. People try and release to have something to survive, or go to a place where they are not, you know, some island in the Pacific or whatever, and run away, you know. But I'm still positive. I think there's a new in NFTs, there's a new wave coming, which are projects that are implementing real utility. In metaverse, the same, but the metaverse is going to be less of the gaming, but I think more of the infrastructure and the security and so on, more to actually build the foundations, if you know what I mean. I think we're going to see a lot of those, all of those projects coming out, even.
Yeah, I was telling, Gary, China are doing it. What you are describing, China already with investing billions actually in infrastructure of the metaverse in their studios. Yes.
And you only have to look at what the likes of Facebook are doing or Meta, as it's now called, where they've clearly decided that that's the way of the future. And as I was saying before, like when you get things like electronics manufacturers, Samsung, I happen to know, they're getting interested in NFTs, and they've mentioned metaverse in some of the press statements, that kind of thing. And that's a very big electronics company. So I think there's some real potential for real growth, but we'll see. I don't know, anyone care to comment? Any other thoughts of the near future with NFTs or the metaverse?
Even they manufacture military equipment, actually, Samsung.
Well, you look at Samsung have now got, I believe it's been launched, a TV which is NFT enabled. So I think the idea is that you can look at NFTs on your Samsung smartphone, smart TV, which is kind of interesting. I don't know how that works. It's any different from an ordinary TV, but the very fact of mentioning it is something. So we've got about 10 minutes left. I just wanted to open it up really. Anyone have any questions they'd like to ask? We've got a range of experiences and knowledges, and we've certainly got global coverage here because we've got people in the UK, Switzerland, Malaysia, and India. Anyone got any general questions or comments or anything today?
I have one question.
Yeah.
Does anybody know of any head of marketing with 3 years or 4 years of experience in crypto? Because I can't find one. I just can't find one. 6 months looking for one, so hard.
Do you mean who's got 3 years experience and is affordable?
I even go, of course, affordable. I'm not going to pay someone from Facebook or Twitter, you know what I mean? That type of chief marketing officer is on a different planet in terms of salary.
Yeah. Well, I was looking at some of the blockchain engineering roles that are going with some of the US companies at the moment, and I think blockchain engineers or architects. One or two of the big companies are offering up to about $500,000 salary.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like, it's worth looking at.
In the West Coast, Coast, especially if they are like senior architects, Rust engineers, so senior architects or Rust engineers, and I'm talking about in Rust language because there's there's 3 blockchains that people are building on at the moment that use Rust. One of them is Solana, the other one is Polkadot, and the other one is Near. Near is expanding their ecosystem big time. So very, very hard. I just, I'm hoping the guy's going to sign, find a Rust engineer already, and they cost a pipe of money. I'm talking about the C-level type of salary, if you know what I mean,
Yep.
And it took us 3 months to find a guy, They don't exist. That's the problem,
Yep.
No, so, but actually they are in the deep web. But to access the deep web, you have to read some forums like Dash forum, Bitcoin forum, and from the talk of the people to each other, they give you the links and the guide to go to the deep web, and then you contract the guys from there.
Yeah, the problem, I know what you mean. Yeah, the problem is that you end up with guys that have already 2 or 3 jobs. And they take another one. There's some guys are killing it, and they never they just playing between those 2 or 3 jobs because everybody works remotely, and in the end projects get delayed often, you know. So it's very, very hard. And there's also the other part, which a lot of them, they have fake profiles and they are really juniors, you know what I mean? It's very hard.
Yeah, scammers. There's lots of scammers.
Yeah, and you know, I don't want to say specific countries because, you know, I don't want to go in there, but there are usual countries that you find that a lot. So where people used to find a lot, and I've been finding for quite some time, 12 years already, is engineers in Ukraine. But, you know, we know what's happening in Ukraine, you know, it's very hard. I know many founders of projects for the past 6-7 years that they've been having development teams in Ukraine, and they are having huge problems still, you know.
Ukraine is amazing, actually, as a software engineers like Quom. His name is Quom, who invented WhatsApp. This is just a small example.
They're really good, really, really good. And a lot of them are fighting. I know someone, I don't want to mention name because it's a known guy. He has at least 5 engineers in the front line fighting. Not because they were pushed conscripted, they actually went for it because of their country, you know. So the whole IT industry in Ukraine is suffering big time, which has an impact on all the companies that had these resources in Ukraine. Google had, I remember I was at the Google office in Ukraine, in Kiev. It's huge, you know. The majority of those guys, and Uber as well, you know, there's lots and lots of companies, big companies there as well. And all of those people are fighting at the moment in Ukraine, you know. It's a big problem.
I saw on your marketing challenges, I keep bumping into people who claim to be crypto marketing people, but they all seem to have about 3 months experience.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've met many of those as well.
Yeah. I need to know someone that has that experience end-to-end to launch a project. Yeah, from seed round right to the point where you launch the project and continue, of course, you know, because don't have time to spend and teach someone and going through that process. That's gonna lose us another 4 to 5 months, you know.
Yep. Well, are you looking at doing an ICO or equivalent then?
Not ICO. It's not called ICO anymore, right?
An STO, a TGE, an IDO?
Yeah, TGE, a TGE, but we have to because the token has a fundamental utility. So people have to have the token to actually use the product. You know?
Okay. So at least it's a proper utility token, not a security token pretending to be a utility token.
No, not really. You know, I mean, of course, people are always going to argue, oh, yeah, but people buy the token because they are thinking to make profit. And, you know, there's a lot of conversations around that. But the fact is the token has real utility, you know. We're not doing this because, hey, here it is, make a profit of the token. No, it's silly to do that and to say that as well, you know. If you're building something, if you're a builder and you build stuff, you build stuff that is decentralized. There's a real reason for existing, you know. And of course, because they use blockchain technology has tokens, right? And that token is going to provide the encryption, security, you name it, so many things. That's why we're using, you know.
Yep.
So, yeah.
The coding language of the blockchain is what I'm interested now starting from this year, because I know a little bit about C++ and JavaScript, and I could not believe that the blockchain really you can do it with these basic languages of coding, not the other ones that I have no idea about until now. Every year there's a new coding language, but the blockchain actually is not that complicated with C++ or JavaScript and Python. And I love coding since maybe my times when I studied in the university even.
I think there's lots of opportunities in that space, but there must be a point at which you won't need to code blockchains anymore. It'll almost be like out of the box type thing. So it's almost like how, I mean, you can already fork an existing blockchain software if it's open source, you know, pull it down from GitHub, spin up your own blockchain, that kind of thing.
Or from AI, you told me it will be generated from the trinity of AI and these things.
Well, maybe that's it. I mean, Thomas, are you looking at using AI to create blockchains at all, or are you thinking of blockchains as being like the storage of the data?
Yes, the future will be that AI is used to create blockchains or adapt them, sure, but that is still a big effort nowadays. And so that would require venture capital several millions to do. So we don't do it yet. And maybe the killer app or the great profitable business plan is not there yet. It's maybe not even mature for that, but it's a nice perspective for the future.
Yep. And I think that's the thing, that a lot of these things still aren't quite as mature as people would perhaps claim. And usually an indicator of that, as JT was mentioning, is a shortage of skilled resources. That actually, when you're struggling to find enough people, or anybody for that matter, that's usually a sign that that technology isn't quite as mature as you need it to be. So
yeah, look, just if you look at the cloud computing, yeah, and you look about all the stuff about big data and so on, it's all about distributed computing, yeah. And a lot of those people, a lot of the programmers, architects, IT people are not into crypto. They're working for big giants like Google Cloud or Google in general, you know, Microsoft and Amazon, you know. Of course, they probably internally have some sort of concepts around DLTs, you know, for sure, you know. But they are not in all the blockchains and on the ecosystems that we see around. But as soon as those big giants, you know, see that there are regulations adopted already in countries, they will invade the space and they'll conquer it. No doubt whatsoever, because they have huge experience in actually running massive infrastructures on distributed computing, you know, because that's what cloud is, right?
Yeah. Well, the ultimate thing, I've been looking at some of the stuff recently, is going beyond cloud and going on to edge computing, where you're actually doing the capture, processing, and analytics and that kind of thing, you know, on the end devices, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I've been talking about the edge computing since 2014, 15, and a lot has happened. But I think you're right. We're going to see more. We just need faster processors. That's all.
Yeah.
Quantum computers.
Yeah, quantum's probably the next big hype.
Yes, yes.
Because a lot of the stuff that's around still isn't quite as good as people maybe claim.
Quantum chain, huh? What about that?
What's that? Q chain? Yeah, and Qtum, that kind of thing. Folks, we're out of time, so we're going to have to close this off now. And I really appreciate, you know, Sammy, I think you're 7 hours ahead, which means probably breakfast time for you.
It's 3 o'clock after midnight. Yeah.
That's crazy. Max, what, 4.5 hours ahead, so it's after midnight there. Thomas, you're just an hour ahead. You're quite lucky. Yes. And JT and I are both in the same country, so the same time zone at the moment. So thank you everyone for joining today. Really interesting mix of things. Nice to get a mixture of different geographies and perspectives and that kind of thing. You know, blockchain, crypto, it's happening now slowly, but there's a lot more to come. And I think, as Thomas was saying, you know, AI is going to be really interesting, and IoT is going to be really interesting. We live in very interesting times. Thanks everyone for joining. Hope to see you again sometime.
Thank you so much, Gary.
Bye now.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.